Hello, good evening. Good evening, everyone. I am your host. Am I visible to everyone? My name is Rajesh Swar, welcoming you all to Pharmaceutical Live. Yeah, just write in a comment box. Great. That's great. Fine. So, today is a special day, and all of us aware about it. It's a World Pharmacist Day, and we all are lucky because we are joined with eminent pharma leaders across the globe with us. We have jointly organized this webinar with International Pharmaceutical Forum, which is headed by Dr. Muhammad Faizuddin sir, who is himself is a renowned scientist, and he's also heading this group. And on today's occasion, we must remember on this Pharmacist Day occasion, we must remember the efforts of Professor M.L. Sroff sir, who is known as father of pharmacy in India. And due to his solitary effort, today we are having this course in our country, India. So, just to give you a brief intro about Sir, that he edited first magazine Indian Pharmacist and directed it almost for 10 years. Then he became president of Bengal Pharmacy Association. Later, he became president of PCI. And he also first edited Indian Journal of Pharmaceutical Education and Research. So, we can learn many things from the personality of Professor Sroff. And today, on this World Pharmacist Day, we have got such a pharma leaders from whom we can learn many things. So, I am inviting one by one Dr. Roshan Palewar sir. Hello sir, good evening.
Hi, good evening. Thank you, Rajesh.
Then we have Dr. Riyaz Siddiqui sir. Hello sir.
Hi, how are you? Good
I
afternoon
am
and
fine
good
sir.
evening to everyone.
Thank you. And we are also joined with Fiazuddin sir. Hello sir.
Hello, how are you? It's my pleasure to be here.
Fine. Thank you.
Nice
Thank
to see
you.
you guys.
And Dr. Zinat Iqbal ma'am is there. Hello ma'am.
Hello.
It's nice to connect with you, and Dr. Asif will also connect with us very shortly. He has some schedule right now, so he will connect with us very soon. So meanwhile, just we will go ahead with our today's webinar. I must wants to say this: pharmacists are always contributing in healthcare system, but their roles are not much known to public, especially in India. So pharmacists are involved in every aspects of medicine from production to market, even in regulations. So pharmacists are transforming global health by empowering patients and other healthcare providers through counseling, drug information, okay, and they are also motivating rational drug usage. So pharmacists try to eliminate medical errors and ensure strict patient compliance to achieve desired therapeutic outcomes. So today we are having blend of pharmacists who are working in different areas of pharmaceutical industries. Okay, so they are real terms of pharma leaders, and they are in real terms they are transforming pharmacy globally. Okay, so with that we'll start with today's session. But before that, I'm asking Dr. Fayazuddin sir to share a welcome note to our speakers.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, for giving me this opportunity. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Eminent scholars and honored guests, a very good afternoon to everybody present here with warm greetings. Actually, we are reaching now more than 1,000 participants live. We're streaming, the conference is going on, it's a webinar. It gives me a great pleasure to extend a warm welcome to all esteemed attendees who have registered here from diverse places across the globe, the nook and the corners. This is indeed a very good time for us. Thank you very much for your time. Actually, this year we are celebrating the 10th anniversary of World Pharmacist Day. We all know the purpose of this day is to encourage activities that promote and advocate the role of the pharmacist in improving health in every corner of the world. Sometime in 2009, there was a one meeting in Istanbul. It was from Federation of International Pharmaceuticals, and they have decided there must be some day which can be celebrated as a World Pharmacist Day. So in 2010, it came into existence, and this year we are going to celebrate the 10th anniversary. Uh, Let me tell you, there are three basic needs of people: food, cloth, and house. We already know roti, kapra, or makan. And fourth comes medicine. There is no any imagination of drug and delivery system without a pharmacist. We have experienced and we have recently seen the role of the pharmacist during COVID-19 as a frontline warrior and in repurposing or producing quality medicine and many more things. So this webinar cum panel discussion has been basically designed to develop to introduce you some of the concept which we'll be discussing during the course of today afternoon session. I hope you are having a lot of excitement to hear the pharma legendaries during this lecture today through this platform. Uh, First of all, I would like to congratulate Mr. Rajesh Wagh to organize such a wonderful program in a very short notice period. So today we have a panel with us here. I'll wholeheartedly welcome our panelists. First of all, I would like to welcome Professor Asif Ahmed sir. He is the executive chairman and chief executive officer of Mirzam Therapeutics UK. Despite of having his busy schedule, and even there are many radio broadcasting programs where there, he has given a wonderful time here. So I am very much indebted for his presence here. And recently he has joined, and very soon he will come with us here, and he will talk a great thing on pre-eclampsia. He will be talking about the how important is the women health today. Our second panelist is Dr. Roshan Palwer. He is the Chief Executive Officer of Doc Roche Global Solution. He will talk about the vaccine development. He is doing very great. He has organized this year many events, even in pandemic, and we are also excited to hear his a remarkable note here. Our third panelist is Mr. Riaz Kosa Siddiqui. Currently, he is a field force sales supervisor in one of the leading pharmaceutical company in Oman, that is Eco Pharmaceuticals, and he is a young, energetic person, and he will talk about the latest technology, that is artificial intelligence in pharmacy. And the fourth panelist is Dr. Zeenat Iqbal, ma'am. She is Associate Professor of Pharmaceutics in Jamia Hamdard, and she will be discussing the emerging vistas in pharmaceutical research and changing avatars. Uh, I hope that all of you will have a most productive day of interesting and stimulating discussion. I sincerely wish this international webinar will be a rich success, not only an as opportunity to share knowledge and experience in pharmaceutical education and research, but also as the beginning of a lot of fruitful cooperation and friendship among fellow educators devoted to the meaningful and worthwhile task of teaching and training every youth who will shape the future. I also welcome my fellow colleagues and senior members of pharma fraternity, including International Pharmaceutical Forum and Pharma Tutors and other platforms also. In last, I again extend my warm welcome to everyone present here. May Almighty bless us with health, peace, and prosperity, and accept our efforts in making the world safe and beautiful to live. Thank you very much.
So Dr. Rosen is entrepreneur, global pharma leader who has experience of 40 plus years of experience in pharmaceutical industry. His desire of learning is unparalleled. Matlab, we cannot count his degrees actually on our fingertips. So actually, it's a wonderful, sir. He hold actually MS in pharmaceutics, PhD in psychology, MD in alternative medicine. He is also EMDP from IIM. He has PMP, MSP, Business Intelligence, Six Sigma, DOM, DPM. So many degrees are there under his name. He's also founder of Doc Roche Health Private Limited, as Fayazuddin sir told that it is India's first integrated healthcare platform technology company. Also, he has launched Docro's global solution, which is having unmatched combination in domain expert. He also worked with many pharmaceutical companies, okay, just like Merck, um, Novartis, and many companies he worked with them. And also, he worked in almost all market for the product launch. You can say US, UK, European market, Asian market, Latam market, every market he has his footprints. So such a personality is with us, who is going to give us a lecture about post COVID-19 vaccine development scenarios. He will going to inform us about that. So, sir, it's all up to you.
Okay, thank you so much, Rajesh, for wonderful opportunity given to me, and a very nice introduction. Thank you so much for that. And I think it's a great opportunity for all of us, coming from the industry and sharing the recent happening and the latest advancement with respect to the various development of pharmaceutical and the vaccine development. I sincerely thanks to Rajesh, former tutor, as well as the IP of International Pharmaceutical Forum, Dr. Fayaz, for having me today and giving the opportunity to share some insight. And I'm sure from today's discussion, individual talk followed by the panel discussion, all the panelists is going to bring something uniqueness into this particular talk and making much more valuable, interesting, and kind of learning for all of us. And I'm sure while listening to them, I'm also going to learn from them at the same time. So thank you with that particular note. As today is World's Pharmacist Day, I think pharmacies are the backbone of the entire healthcare system, whether it's the research, manufacturing, clinical, pharmacy, dispensing, or even the counseling. Pharmacists are playing a critical role. And at this particular point of time where the whole world is undergoing the pandemic situation of COVID-19, pharmacists are standing shoulder in shoulder, hand in hand to fight with this COVID-19 and extending their wholehearted support by at the cost of their health, their life, and ensuring the medicines are available to the needy and taking care of the entire patient and the healthcare system. So I think it's a big kudos, big congratulations to entire pharmacists across the world. What we see today, it's all about because of the the kind of support being extended by every single pharmacist and the entire healthcare fraternity. That makes us pretty proud for that. So, with that particular note, Rajesh, I would like to now take up the discussion more on the industry perspective. That is, of course, the pharmaceutical industry, and on top of that, how the vaccine development is going on in not only in India but worldwide, and how we can see further in the coming days the vaccine is going to change the scenario and making everyone pretty what you call secured, safe from the viruses and so many other pandemic situation in the coming days. As I see, if I wanted to give a broader perspective of the global pharma industry, this is something really important to understand before we go into the subsequent discussion. This is the pharmaceutical industry, only industry in the entire world as a sector. It's much more prominent, stable, growing, irrespective of any kind of challenges, pandemic situation, or any economical collapse, or any kind of political external dynamic changes. This is the pharmaceutical pharmaceutical industry growing steadily, and as a sector, this is standing at 1.25 trillion US dollar as of today in 2020, and it has been projected to attain a milestone of 1.5 trillion US dollar by 2023 with the CAGR of around 15.71 percentage. Now, the same industry, if I wanted to give like 20 years back, in 2001, this is standing at $390 billion. And from 10 years onward, it reaches to $888 billion as an industry. And by 2014, it already touched 1 trillion US dollar. Now, from that particular point till today, it's growing steadily. And it's already attained as of now is $1.25 trillion as an industry segment, and it's much more promising. There's a great development happening. A lot of investment is coming into the sector, and novelty, novel formulations, innovations is changing the phenomena of how the formulations or the industry is working on bringing the new molecule to the market for the line of treatment of the various indication, various diseases. At the same time, I would like to draw your attention with respect to Indian pharmaceutical industry, because Indian pharma industry is all about $55 billion as of now, and it's been ranking top 3 in the entire global pharmaceutical market by incremental growth. And when it comes to absolute size, India is the 6th largest pharmaceutical market. Now, what is making this Indian pharma industry much more interesting and lucrative for the entire world is that there are many reasons, but to keep few points on the platter, the cost of production or manufacturing of the pharmaceutical products in India is almost half to the US and Europe. And on the other side, the talent pool is absolutely in ample available, and this is what making the Indian pharma sector much more promising to the entire world. If I wanted to take you further and tell you, the segment what the Indian pharma covers is around 70% of the generic drugs. That's what the segment, and then 21% is the OTC medicines, and 9% is all about the generic patented drugs, right? And thereby, since the generic is the major segment which industry is working, and if I wanted to tell you like all the demand of US market with respect to their population and then demand, almost 60-65% of the generic formulation is being supplied and served to US population, and that is something make us as an Indian sector much more promising, right? On top of that, if you look further with respect to the export market, the manufacturing of the pharmaceutical products across the world, where the Indian sector is actually contributing to $22 billion by today in terms of the total exports, and it's actually serving or exporting to more than 200 countries worldwide. And that is what something 10% of the world's production is being catered only from the Indian pharma facilities. And every single dose of medicines or the vaccines which has been administered worldwide is come from the Indian manufacturing facilities. So this gives a strong position with respect to the quality of the pharmaceutical products and the affordability, which makes the industry, the segment, much more promising for the entire world. And therefore, entire world is looking at India in terms of the investment, in terms of the manufacturing, in terms of the launching the new facilities, launching the new formulations, and thereby serving the entire population by means of giving the right medications. That is what something on the Indian pharmaceutical point of view. Now let me take you to the current what's happening with the clinical trial. Altogether, the global clinical trial market is actually around 18.4 billion as of today, and this is what projected to grow further by 26.9% with a CAGR of 7.83 percentage. Therefore, this is something making much more promising, because where every single product which comes to the market is actually meant to go with the clinical trials and with the whole objective of the safety and the efficacy of the newly product, either products with respect to the vaccines, or it could be drugs, it could be medical devices. And if I talk about the number of the clinical trials so far in the entire globe, if we wanted to give it the numbers like in 2000, like 20 years back, the total number of registration of clinical trials were somewhere around 2000, total registered clinical trials. But as of now, after 20 years back, you'll be very surprised to know the total clinical registered trials worldwide are around 319 millions. So you can see how important the clinical trial for the entire sector, entire community, because this is because of the growing more complex in the recent years and remain vital for the R&D with respect to the new drugs and the products. And this is what to ensure the safety and the efficacy of the drug. Now, as the whole world is getting impacted because of this COVID-19, but let me tell you, looking in general course of time where the vaccine development happens in a 10 to 15 years time frame, which is again a very complex phenomena, complex with respect to the scientific aspect, as well as risky from the economical aspect, because the cost of development of a vaccine is pretty costly, right? However, looking at this particular emergency situations where the what you call the entire ecosystem with government, industries, all regulatory authorities, and all the forums worldwide are actually working together, supporting each other to bring the novel vaccine to the market at the earliest. And therefore, you will be see that there are many clinical trials are undergoing within such a short period of time of 5 to 6 months. And if I'm correct, there are around 88 to 89 pharma companies are already doing the research of the vaccine development, and whereas 77 companies are already entered into the preclinical trials. Okay, now while this COVID is going on, there is an impact on the existing clinical trials of the various other formulations or the medicines, right? And these are the trials which is got derailed or kept on hold, or these are running slow, because the whole focus of the industry as well as the authority and the government is to bring the vaccine to the market, and therefore the high prioritization is given on this vaccine development program. Now, what is important for all of us to understand that when it comes to the existing responses with respect to vaccine development, looking at the pandemic, and on top of that, the challenges what the pharma sector is facing it, India seems to be a key for the global access of COVID-19 vaccine. Now let's understand, the demand is pretty large because the vaccine would require for entire world, and the existing manufacturing facilities across the world may not be sufficient to fulfill those demand, and therefore you will see that there are a lot of collaboration, merger, acquisition, integrations are happening in this particular segment, so that the vaccine development, one is the development and second is the manufacturing, commercialization could be happen at ease. And therefore, India has the greater potential to play as a key role in this overcoming the vaccine nationalism, because it's a major supplier of medicines of the global south, and it's been known as the pharmacy of the world, right? So now let me bring your attention on core of the vaccine development. When it comes to the manufacturing of this vaccine, there are the couple of strategies or the ways where these vaccine manufacturing could be achieved. One is the mass production, which is possibly developed by any part of the world, but the production could happen as a masses, in the masses, right? The second approach is where the developing the new vaccine and as well as manufacturing it. And let me tell you, on the both the strategies, not only the Indian pharma companies, but also the rest of the world are also working on this line. And therefore, you see that there are already many clinical trials undergoing. And in parallel to the clinical trials, the manufacturing to keep the production cycle and time in control, the manufacturing have been initiated. I will touch upon that in a few moments now. Now, what happens to the scaling up of the existing vaccines? As you certainly know that the India's Serum Institute, which has already been started the manufacturing of the vaccine, which has been developed by the University of Oxford in collaboration with the AstraZeneca. So this vaccine candidate, before actually the clinical trial finish, right now it's under clinical phase 3 trial. Okay. However, looking at the kind of requirement of this, because the manufacturing, the production would take its own time to in a way to manage those. There is a collaboration between the AstraZeneca and the what do you call the Serum Institute, where the Serum Institute of India is already started the production manufacturing of this vaccine, considering the time, considering the risk involved into it, and it's all dependent upon the kind of clinical phase 3 trial outcome. The regulatory authority will give the endorsement to further commercialize it, but it's happening right now in hand. Parallel things are going on. So you understand now how the complexities and how the cohesive support from all the functions, all the bodies are right now going on. Despite being the largest vaccine manufacturer in the entire world, Serum Institute actually committed to supply around 400 million doses of this vaccine by end of 2020. Now it's all dependent upon the successful clinical trial of phase 3 basis that it will be going to happen it. But let me tell you, there is another pharma company called Biological E Limited, BE, which is also agreed to manufacture the vaccine candidate of Johnson and Johnson, which is again a subsidiary of Janssen Pharmaceutical, right? And they recently had the acquisition of Acorn India, and therefore this becomes the kind of great manufacturing capability. They got it, and therefore they would be able to manufacture and supply in the coming days. Now, despite India being a mass manufacturer, there is a transition to innovation, and there is a new product development have been greatly happening despite the challenges at the same time. So in continuation or in parallel to like Biological Limited or Serum Institute, there are few Indian pharma companies already started the clinical phase trials of this vaccine. For example, Aurobindo Pharma, Bharat Biotech, there is called immunological, like BE, Indian Immunologicals, Manax, and then Panacea Biotech, Zadus Cadila. These are already into the own development of the vaccine, and they are in the clinical phase trials. Now, what is going to happen in the coming days is that apart from the collaboration with respect to portfolio acquisition, the approach is to let's shake the hand, utilize the infrastructure and the capacity, because India has a greater manufacturing capacity. So there are the collaboration happening between the world leader of vaccine developers and getting that vaccine manufactured in the Indian manufacturing facilities. So the recent example, for example, Dr. Reddy's have already tied with the manufacturer of Sputnik V vaccine, which is a Russian origin vaccine. That will be manufactured in Hyderabad facility of Dr. Reddy's. This is kind of another advancement in terms of the merger acquisition. And similarly, there are other things are happening. But despite all the companies who are already working on, there are three promising vaccine manufacturers, companies are in great race in a way to finish the clinical trials and bring the product vaccine at early stage, I can say that. So for example, Bharat Biotech, they already they're working on the Covaxin, which is developed at Hyderabad facility itself in collaboration with the ICMR, Indian Council of Medical Research, and this is what something very promising as of now. And there's other company called Zadus Cadila, so Zycov D vaccine, which is again they are already into the clinical phase 2 trial. So, and similarly, as I mentioned, the Serum Institute of India, they are already in the parallel manufacturing of vaccine is going on. So what it makes us is that despite the challenges and the development, it's the the kind of willingness the industry is bringing. It's in collaboration with the various authorities. Now, things are happening like the regulatory authority are supporting enough. Because earlier the time was mostly goes into the back and forth review process, approval process, documentation process. Now that thing is happening parallelly, okay. And on the other side, where we have the rich scientific information, data, archival, where the existing vaccine which has been developed, learning from those available programs and the vaccines. Now the companies are straightforward jumping to the advanced stage of the development, because there is a digitalization, there is a computing, there is a software, there is a big data about the scientific information is available, and that making that actually boosting the development process rather than starting from the scratch. And therefore, what we see as of now in the market in terms of the vaccine development, the companies are already into the clinical phase trials, let's say phase 2 and phase 3. And I'm sure in the coming days, the vaccine will be available. And yes, I mean, it's a big challenge with respect to supplying of this developed vaccine to the entire world. However, the Indian manufacturers are actually committed to supply at least 50% to the Indian population first, followed by the rest of the world demand. And I'm sure this could be certainly achievable when it comes to supply chain. So thereby, it's a time where we're going to see the vaccine in the market. But despite that, what the kind of mandate guideline protocols have been set by the health authorities, we need to stick to that. Safety precaution is something that we have to take at all the time, because the precaution is always better than prevention is always better than the cure. And yes, vaccine is going to play its own role, but in the current scenario, there are the existing drugs, existing formulations which have been used in the line of treatment of COVID-19. For example, favipiravir, which has been recently been launched by multiple companies in India, and which actually used in the treatment of this virus. Okay, there are the remdesivir drug, there are the existing anti-malaria drug called SCQ, hydroxychloroquine drug, and also in combination with the antibiotic like azithromycin. So there are the existing line of treatment is already there, which has been implemented and is going on. Vaccine is something that all of us are watching for it, because that is going to secure as a defense mechanism from this COVID-19 vaccine. So with that particular note, I think we are very optimistic. I'm sure in collaboration and with the great support from the industry, government, regulatory authorities, various bodies, and cross-border collaboration, this will be certainly achievable in a due course of time. So with that note, I would like to conclude my talk, and thank you all of you. And any kind of questions coming, possibly we'll take up during the Q&A session. Thank you. Over to you, Rajesh. Your mute seems to be.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you for giving us overall idea about. We got an idea of vaccine situation right now globally. That what things are happening, what are the collaboration, what are the things are in the pipeline. Everything we came to know from your talk, sir. Thank you very much, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.
Now we will move ahead with our talk. And our next speaker is Professor Dr. Asif Ahmed, sir. Hello, sir.
Namaste.
Good evening, sir.
Hello.
Good evening, sir. It's a good morning in UK, sir, right?
Yes,
Yeah.
that's true.
Okay, great.
Sure.
So, Professor Asif Ahmed, sir, he's gained his undergraduate in pharmacology from King's College London, and later he completed his PhD back in 1989. Then he joined postdoctoral fellowship at University of Cambridge and went to work at University of Birmingham, where he became professor in 1999. And he's the founder of Aston Medical School, the most socially inclusive medical school in UK, we can say like that. And he went on to create Mirzyme Therapeutics in early stage biopharmaceutical company, which is working on drugs to prevent pre-eclampsia, a life-threatening condition in pregnancy, which is affecting newborns as well as mother. So his talk is about the same, the protective pathways to prevent pre-eclampsia. So, sir, is all up to you. Please guide us ahead with your talk, sir.
Well, thank you very much. I couldn't have put it better myself. So first of all, I'd like to thank the organizers for inviting me. And I'm sorry that I can't stay for all of the session. I like to stay for the whole thing, but I have other meetings going on today. But can I just say to all those who are listening in, could you put your hand up if you are an outcome of pregnancy, which is all of us. And you and I are the lucky ones, and so are our mothers, because 1 in 15 pregnancies around the world end in disaster and death. Pregnancy is a risky business. So that's first thing I'd like to say. I'll try to share with you my slides I've prepared for you. Let me see how I do this. I press share is in 2 months. Do I screen share? Okay. Can you see my slides? Okay, so right. So I've been asked to talk to you about because it's the World's Pharmacists Day, and I think, as we've heard from our first speaker, the importance of pharmacy, pharmacology, and healthcare, especially at this time of the period when everyone around the world is looking to find a cure or preventative methods for COVID-19. And this has challenges, but it also has brought many people together, and the world is working in a much more cohesive and collaborative way. So I hope it carries on this way. So I came to pre-eclampsia in a very different way. I actually was working on in Cambridge on menstrual disorders, and when I moved to Birmingham as a lecturer back in '93, one of my colleagues said to me, you know, you're doing some really good work, but why don't you look at the placenta? It is something that is thrown away. And when I looked into it, it was a big black box, a lot of associated studies, but nothing that could. And then the more I looked into it, then I realized maternal death from preeclampsia was a major factor in pregnancy, and it was not really addressed except for a bit like what we're doing with COVID. You know, we don't have a treatment, we don't have a vaccine, but we do know what we need to do: wear a mask, wash our hands, keep social distancing. And in a way, preeclampsia was treated in the same way. They couldn't do anything for prevent preeclampsia, but what they could do was to deliver the baby early, put it in an incubator, but it has all these consequences both for mother and baby. So that was the background from which I came, and that's led to a whole thing. So I've worked in more research intensive environment most of my life. Then I moved to Aston to put a medical school, which was, as we heard, is the most socially inclusive and also internationally connected, because I feel that there are need that we can provide across the world for those who can come here and get trained in medicine as well. So if we say we are the outcome of pregnancy, but if you look at this map, which on your right hand side is the map a few months ago of COVID, which is nearly close to 1 million people have died now, roughly. And what you see, look at the demographics of where the deaths have happened. They've happened in my country, in Europe, in America, in relatively wealthy countries, right, and more. But when you look at the maternal deaths, they're happening relatively less wealthy countries, right? A huge amount in Africa, But this is the area where you have young population, where birth will happen. So we do need to address this disparity. And while I'm talking with you, every minute I speak with you, a mother or a baby dies due to preeclampsia. It is, as we heard, a life-threatening condition in pregnancy. Pregnancy is a risky business. And if you think of this in a simple terms, think of pregnancy as a journey in a car. Halfway through the journey, the brakes fail, the car crashes. What my lab has done is discovered the braking mechanism and worked out the roadmap for that, how that happens. So we can detect when the brakes are failing and then rectify it by putting new brake pads on. That's basically what I'm going to tell you about. And so what is preeclampsia? It's a condition in pregnancy. Halfway through the pregnancy, the mother develops a high blood pressure. Some of the organs get damaged because, and one of the key markers are also a urine gets protein in it, so the kidney is not working properly. And the only treatment is to deliver the baby, whether the baby is ready or not. So that's has been almost from the time of the pharaohs. And if you don't deliver the baby, then pregnancy will move from preeclampsia to eclampsia, convulsion, and death. So sometimes it's called the silent killer because women don't know that they have it. And by the time they discover it, it's too late. And who is affected? 1 in 12 women out of the 130 million pregnancies a year that happens around the world are affected. And every minute, as I've said to you, I'm talking to you, a mother or a baby has died because of preeclampsia. And there is no accurate way to diagnose it, and there's no pharmaceutical to treat it. But our mission is to change that. It's a bit like there is nothing for COVID, but I think we will have something soon, because billions are being invested, but not billions are being invested in to tackle preeclampsia. It is due to a big factor in it is a culprit protein called soluble FLT, FLT1. And this protein is a natural antagonist of a good protein called vascular endothelial growth factor. And my lab back in '97 had shown that the good protein, vascular endothelial growth factor, binds to receptors on cells, especially the lining of the blood vessels, and stimulates a protein, a small molecule called nitric oxide, which is required for keeping the lining of blood vessels in a healthy state. And what happens in preeclampsia, you get this culprit protein, very high levels of it. And this high levels of it mops up the good protein. And therefore you get a stressed endothelium, also a stressed placenta, and leading to consequences. So the question was for us was, what controls this culprit protein? And I asked a different question. So questions are very important, what you are. So everyone is focused on what causes preeclampsia. And we asked the question, if 1 in 12 women get it, what do the 11 have that they don't get it? And so I went out hunting for what I call the protective factors. 2 papers we published in Circulation, probably a decade apart. And one was called hemoxygenase, which produces the small molecule called carbon monoxide, and it's an antioxidant, if you like, gene. And this, when overexpressed in endothelial cells, those lining of the blood vessels, it suppressed this culprit protein. And if you knocked it out or reduced it using siRNA, then the levels of soluble FLT went up. And so this was a starting point for us. And then the question was, what are other genes? Then we found that the enzyme that makes hydrogen sulfide also did the same thing in a similar way. And so this led to ask the question, what are there repurposed drugs that we could initially look at? And we did look at statin. Statins are counterindicated in pregnancy. You're not allowed to take it. But I was given the permission to carry out the world's first multi-center randomized control trial to see if this was safe. And we did a phase 2 clinical trial. And we showed that this drug is safe to take, but it didn't suppress the culprit protein, although there was a tendency towards improvement in the period for gestation. But it was a small study. It's just recently been published. But this is like a shotgun approach, right? It's not targeted therapeutics. And because we knew what the mechanism was, which is that these two enzyme pathways were suppressing this culprit protein, we went out using genetics to look at, if you knock out these pathways, what is the roadmap? And we discovered the protective pathways, but also the roadmap to prevent preeclampsia. And these we decided to patent, and we have global patents for these now. And so if you think, so we're in a position that we've developed an integrated approach to predict, detect, prevent, and treat preeclampsia. So halfway through the pregnancy, a mother's blood tests will be done. We will know who is at risk. And today I can predict with 98% certainty who will get preeclampsia, not a rule out, but a rule in, which will allows you to then give those people a potential treatment. And one of those drugs is MZE786. And the way, and it's very apt that today is the World Pharmacy Day, and today this paper has just come out and is free online if you want to. But in brief, what this paper shows is that this pathway, the hydrogen sulfide pathway, sustains endothelial mitochondrial bioenergetics. And if you knock out this enzyme from endothelial cells, it increases production of superoxides. And our drug targeted to this suppresses that culprit protein. And these studies were done in vivo, and then in vitro analysis were performed. And this donor restores the mitochondrial bioenergetics in the endothelial cells. So targeting hydrogen sulfide may be beneficial therapeutics in the prevention. And we now have global worldwide patents for that effect. And so we've gone on to look at the effect of this in an in vivo system. This is unpublished data I'm sharing with you right now. And what we have been able to show that in a refined model of preeclampsia, where we've clamped the uterine arteries, what we get is that we get a low expression of this enzyme in the placenta, and all the symptoms of preeclampsia, high soluble fluid, increase in blood pressure, oxidative stress, kidney damage, placental damage, and fetal growth being compromised. And after the treatment, all of these things improve. So blood pressure is reduced, soluble fluid levels are reduced, oxidative stress is reduced, kidney damage is reduced, placental damage is reduced, and live birth increases. So MZE7 is a novel drug with therapeutic potential to prevent, and it is a drug which is engineered from aspirin, and so, but it appears to be superior to aspirin. And when we look at the placental vasculature, what we found that if this on the left panel is the normal vasculature of sham control. You've got the disrupted vasculature in the model, and when you've given in the model with the drug, it looks more like the control. So we know that we're restoring vascular function. So our vision is very simple. You know, when we started on this journey, what I said to the company, I would like before the end of this decade, that no woman who chooses to get pregnant ever fear pre-eclampsia, so that they don't have to choose between their life and the life of their baby, and to have a safe and happy and healthy pregnancy. Thank you very much for this talk. But what I would like to end by, those young people who are listening, that in life, you need to have what I call the 5 P's of life. And the first 2 P's I'm going to tell you were given to me by a Nobel laureate, Richard Ernst, who's got the Nobel Prize for NMR spectroscopy back in 91. And I met Richard in 2004. And he said something that has captivated me ever since. He said, in our profession, if you're not thinking of Stockholm, don't do it. To which I said, Richard, you can say that. We can't say things like that. He said, no, because you need additional passion. His passion was painting, and I write poetry, and he was encouraging me to carry on publishing poems. And he said, because that additional passion allows you to think creatively, think outside the box, so that it helps your profession. I would add 3 more P's to this. So make your passion drive your purpose. And with purpose, remember that you need resilience and persistence, because most things and most people will try to put you down. And you have to believe in what you are doing so that you will be able to get to your goal. But even then, that's not enough, because you will hit a brick wall where you can't go through and you can't go around. And that's when you need the power of persuasion, when others will come to your aid and buy into that vision. So it's no longer your vision, it's a common vision. And they will help you get over the wall. So thank you. Hi, did you get?
Thank you very much, sir, for giving us detailed knowledge about your research, your work. We are just overwhelmed with this knowledge. Thank you very much, sir. As you have some commitments and you may not be available for us for panel discussion, so I have a couple of questions for you. I just need to ask one thing, sir, first, that how you got an idea to research and develop drugs to prevent pre-eclampsia. What drive you as an entrepreneur? What drive you? Because this combination is very rare. Researcher along with entrepreneur, this combination is very rare. So what drive you, sir, to do this research and this entrepreneurship, sir?
Yeah, I think one of the main factor is, I think, curiosity, knowing that there is a black box, not many people know about it. And that for me, women's health is really important, because as a child, I was told paradise lies at the feet of your mother. And yet we don't do things for our mother. So that's first thing. And second, it was opportunity to do something, but to bring benefit to society. It can't just be done in academia. It needs to be done in a corporate structure. I recognize that you need entrepreneurial scientists, and when you can combine knowledge of science with business, and having created a medical school from scratch without government aid in the beginning, government numbers, medical school numbers were being cut, and there I was trying to create a medical school. Everyone thought I needed my head examined, but I knew that the world needed more doctors and wanted more doctors as the economy of the developing world became the developed world. And so it's going to, so that's give you an example. So having that entrepreneurial mind is important, and the curiosity to be the first to know. When you discover anything, you are the first person in the world or your group to see it. And it's not, as one Nobel laureate once said, everyone sees the same thing, but not everyone thinks the same way, right? We all saw cat's eyes, but we never came up with the cat's eye that is on the roads, right? When the light shines on it. So my curiosity and exposure, actually, I should say exposure, because as a young child, I used to go to my father's lab. It was an engineering lab, combustions and stuff, but you got to meet young researchers. I also met Nobel laureates, FRSs. So all those exposure gave you that curiosity, and then relying on everything doesn't work. So you got to have that resilience, that yes, things won't work, but don't give up. That's the key thing. Most people give up. So it's a combination. And then other people, having a good team and other people coming to your aid and supporting you. All of those things are important.
Thank you very much, sir, for guidance. And one more question is that how tech utilization in pharmaceutical industry is enhancing research, because now we have seen that technology is taking over all the places. So how it is enhancing the research R&D work?
Yeah, so I think that's a very good question. So if you think about it, big data that is being accumulated, that is going to increase to be able to tell trends, right? So I think the analysis of big data is going to be important in that respect. Also, there are now, you can do systems biology to look at, it's been around for a while, to look at experimentally what trends might happen before you go into in vivo settings. So these things will accelerate the way things are. But I think at the end of the day, creativity is going to, you will still get trends, but trends don't necessarily, like people have tried to use trends to address preeclampsia, and it has failed miserably because it's a unique disorder. It may have many symptoms of cardiovascular, and it is a cardiovascular risk factor, but if it was, then statins statins are counterindicated, but it would be solved by aspirin, or it'd be solved by antihypertensive drugs, but it's not. So so tech, I think, and biology interface is going to be important.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us with the knowledge. We are very grateful that you gave us a time which was very important for us. Thank you, sir.
No,
Thank you very
I'm
much.
always happy to do anything to support Indian pharmacy.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Now, as we will move ahead with our session, we have our next speaker, Mr. Dr. Zinat Iqbal. She is a postgraduate and has a doctorate in pharmaceutics from Jamia Hamdard, a proactive member of teaching fraternity, and she has been chairperson of ICC posts in CCRUM, Ministry of Ayush, Government of India. Her students have received many fellowships, just like ICMR fellowships, HNF grants, many grants she has received. She is the research collaborator at NII, at HIMSR, at GMI, in the different labs. She is research collaborator. She has been coordinator for EPG Pathshala MHRD, Government of India. So, hello, ma'am.
Hello, am I audible?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, yes. So her
Okay, I
topic
thought
of discussion is emerging vistas in pharmaceutical research and changing avatars of pharmacy professionals. Please, ma'am.
absolutely, Dr. Rajesh. Thank you so much. I was thinking that my talk would be the last one, but anyways, I am absolutely fine with this. Getting in ahead of the other speaker. I'm really overwhelmed. I must initiate with the very good afternoon to all of you, and Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah, which translates to be all the blessings upon you. And in these pandemic times, the only thing which we look forward to is the blessings of every kind. And this is a great day. It's the World Pharmacist Day. And one more reason to be proud of that we are being the front runners in the healthcare system and the healthcare team and have been doing the best possible thing in this very, very taxing times. I was actually listening to Dr. Roshan first and then Dr. Asif, and was actually feeling so proud that how many roles a pharmacist does. And unfortunately, we are not being given that type of recognition. Times are changing. We are making a mark on this world, and hopefully, we will actually drive it further with all the hard work which we are doing. And with these words, and I have to thank the organizers, Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Fayazuddin. I'm very happy to be here with Mr. Riaz and Dr. Fayaz. There's a reason behind it that all three of us from Jamia Hamdard, and this is a great occasion that we are meeting on this wonderful platform with stalwarts like Dr. Roshan and Dr. Asif. Thank you so much for this great opportunity. I would be very happy to initiate the talk. The topic has been highly relevant. I'll just start sharing my screen, and if it is visible, you please indicate to me. I trust it is visible to all of you. I'll
Yes, ma'am, it is visible, but make it in a slideshow mode, ma'am. Okay.
Is my screen visible to you, all of you?
Yes, yes, yes.
These are the times, every 2 minutes I'm asking my students and asking all my audience, am I audible, am I visible? So we
Yes,
have
ma'am, you
been
are
put
audible
in,
as well. We are
we
able to
have
see
we
that.
have been put in this time. But again, I think there's a flip side to it, a good side to it, that if it would not have been the webinars, we would not have been meeting such stalwarts. So having Professor Asif and other people who are here is a great, great opportunity. And that's because of this platform which we have just discovered. So Dr. Rajesh has already initiated you into the topic. The topic is emerging vistas in pharmaceutical research and changing avatars of a pharmacy professional. I don't have to speak much on the word avatars here because we have got so many of the avatars on this platform only. You have a person like Dr. Roshan who has been handling the multi sort of jobs, like being a person who is doing management, he's an entrepreneur, and he's what all. Similarly, we have a researcher who was with us and who I am sure will continue to be with us. You just, when I was in class, my first year, we had this stalwart Professor Sharma, SN Sharma sir, to be coming to our class in the first class, and he was telling us that, and we were like little confused that what we are going to do in the next 4 years, because most of the time we are actually preparing for our PMTs and pre-medical test and wanting to become doctors, and suddenly you take this as a second option. Times are changing. People, this is my very pet question, which I always ask my students: that did you come to this profession as a choice or a chance? And the answers are still that, okay, we are not maybe the first choice, but it is now fast changing. We are actually making a difference to this whole world. And there are students who say that, yes, ma'am, this is my first choice. Coming to the point which I was making. So sir said, and he said, pharmacy is an art and science. And it is sticking with me, and it will be taken to my grave, that definitely pharmacy is an art and science. And what are we then? So when we come to be talking about a pharmacist, or what we actually are artists who are converting and making such beautiful dosage forms. We are scientists who are actually logically thinking and creating something which is acceptable science-wise, and everybody is sort of accepting that. Then we are lawyers, and I'm not sort of interfering in anybody's profession, but when I say I'm a lawyer, I'm saying it with a lot of responsibility, that I'm being taught forensic pharmacy, and I know what regulations are. I know what drug regulations are, and what device would be accepted and what drug device would not be accepted. So I know so much of law. Then I am also an engineer, because I cannot do without technology. There will be machines which I will be handling. There will be so many things which I'm going to handling. Not to say I'm an entrepreneur, and not to say that I'm a big contributor to the health profession. On your screens, you would be seeing all these beautiful attributes, and which are primarily a part of the life of a pharmacist. So you are expected to be having patience, honesty, alertness, and you have to be researcher, motivator, administrator, being courageous in the times of COVID, for example, intelligent, studious, and you have to be absolutely thinker. When I say studious, that doesn't mean that you have to actually eat up all the books, but you have to keep yourself abridged. You have to fuel your profession with passion. That's exactly what Dr. Asif left us with, a great message. The role of pharmacist and the avatars are amazing. You can work in the community as a community pharmacist, in clinical pharmacy, hospital pharmacy, academic pharmacy, regulatory, research and development. New vistas are emerging, and many more things which we'll keep discussing as we progress in this presentation. Pharmacists definitely have a pivotal role. We have been told since ages that we are to be there at the disposal of the patient, and we have to work in closeness with a doctor, a physician, and a nurse, and that's precisely what we have been doing. But our role has really increased, and we are doing something which was never envisaged 2 decades or 3 decades back, and that's what motivates us, and that's what new vistas are looking forward to us. So the first thing is that we are having a new philosophy nowadays in the pharmaceutical sector of caring to patients, and we are no more something who are related to dispensing. We are primarily designated to be doing a job of something which we call as pharmaceutical care. On your slide, you might be seeing just a table which distinguishes between the dispensing and pharmaceutical care. I would not be able to take all of these because of the paucity of the time, but the conclusion is that when I am offering a pharmaceutical care, I am in a service sector. I am actually focused at the patient. I am actually doing everything for the benefit of a patient so that he benefits from the drug therapies, and I do according to the patient's need. Then also putting it forward that my business is not just only product oriented, but I'm rather oriented toward the patients. So that's what precisely, like a doctor will give a physician's care, the nursing care. So I am a pharmacist who is offering a pharmaceutical care. So this is a WhatsApp poster which I received early morning from one of my very doting students, and this is exactly what everybody wants to be knowing now, and everybody should be knowing now, is that I am not limited to one role. I am wearing so many different hats, and each one demands passion, each one's demand dedication. Like a virtue of being a true scientist, when I'm going in for research and innovation, I will have to be a very astute inspector, or a person who is going to be working in the manufacturing sector, cautious of the quality medicine. I will definitely be a very good updated academician when I have to support and educate my students. Then I'll be helping as a pharmacist and a healthcare team. And I would be working as a regulator person and not allowing the I would say compromised quality drugs coming to my patients. And finally, I am there available to my community when I am working as a distributor or I am working as a community pharmacist. So there are so many hats which we wear, and so many things which are to be done, and so many roles which we have to play. Almighty is always like should we look forward to his kindness so that we are able to do justice to all these roles. And to all my students who have joined us, that this is extremely a profession which is going to be giving you 100% gratification. The only requirement is that you choose your role cautiously and you are fueling that with a lot of passion and persuasion and persistence. So when we come to the public health, I'll be little hurrying because I've prepared around a couple of 10 to 12 slides, which are primarily just going to give you a new sort of imagination towards your profession, that how well you can do and how farther you can go. So when we come to the public health, this is something which everybody knows, that we are playing a role in the health promotion, in medicine management and screening services. Like currently for the COVID-19 and all, we are working as a professional dispensers, we are working in national health programs, we are also offering our services as at de-addiction centers, and of course we are very much dedicated for the community awareness and also the patient counseling. So these are roles which are known. Then what beyond we go and how further we are going into this demesne of pharmacy is something which we will look forward to. So this is, I would really sort of acknowledge this beautiful article titled The Excellence of Pharmacy Service, Past, Present and Future. And this is something which is to be read by each one of you, and really feel proud of that moment when you chose this profession as your sort of bread and butter passage, and also to serve the society. So when we come to the patient care process, we always believe in a wellness wheel, and that wheel will be like only working with collaboration, communication and documentation, and everything done with the other healthcare givers, but everything is patient centered. So a pharmacist play an important role. He will collect the information about that subject or the patient, the objective and the subjective information, then help in assessment that what are the medicines he are taking and what all things are to be considered very, very seriously, so that we do not get any adverse drug reactions or anything which is going to harm his health. Then he will plan, and then finally the plan has to be shared with other healthcare givers, and finally he implements it, because he's the one who's responsible for the treatment, and of course he will be a big partner in the follow-up and monitor. This is the most idealistic role which we look forward to. Times are changing, and these roles have now come up onto the front, and many hospitals are giving this opportunity to the pharmacists to work in all this sort of collaboration with all their healthcare givers. This is a simple thing because it is called as a bow tie phenomena, or a bow tie phenomena. So you have a bow, or the bow which you put it on your collars, and you can just see that the knot which is in between is the patient, and we have two parts of it, and one is the assessment which is done by the physicians and the doctors. We are not interfering with that. He is the one who is trained for diagnosis, and here we are, who are contributing immensely to the concept of pharmacotherapy, and we are actually working in all capacities to give the best possible treatment to this patient. So we will take care of the cost, the drug interactions, the organ function, the lifestyle, and we prepare the data which we share holistically with the treating physician and other healthcare givers, with only one intention: to have the best possible therapeutic outcomes for this patient. And this is exactly, we are also sort of following a lot of health promotion models. Maybe this is not very common in India, but I'm sure that this is partially adopted by most of the organizations in India and the other neighboring countries as well. Just two examples of the models, depending on what area I would choose to work in. I can go in for a clinical pharmacy model. I cannot go into the details of all of these sort of roles, but I think to just put it in a very small, succinct way is that when we are working in a clinical pharmacy, we cannot ignore any of these roles, beginning from that of the quality assurance to the medicines acquisition, and then finally the research which is involved there, then education and training to of the partners who would play an important role, and of course the medicine supply and dispensary. All these facets will have to be taken care of, and each one of you can adopt any of these depending on what your interest, passion, and sort of career choices. Similarly, a pharmacist or a pharmaceutical professionals play a very important role, and this is something which they call as the Beatles model. So I, as a pharmacist, I will actually, and most of the healthcare, why only pharmacist? I must be very sort of generous in admitting the sort of role of each one of them. So one of the major role is that we have to persuade the citizen or a patient or a sort of a consumer or a client that he has to take care of his health. So there are different models. So this is just one example which can be employed anywhere, and I think some of the hospitals have taken lead in employing this. So you have to play a role of a health persuasion, which is primarily an authoritative role. The individual, the patient doesn't have a choice. For example, I have to ask a COPD patient that you have to stop smoking. Then when it comes to legislative actions, I can actually go to an extent where I can maybe go in for banning of smoking in the open areas or theaters or restaurants and all. So this is again an important role where a pharmaceutical scientist can be involved, and he is there to take the legislative action, of course, under the premise and under the sort of permission from the regulatory bodies and the legislative bodies. Then you have the community development. Here again, it is very simple to understand that the pharmacist works very, very closely with the community, and his focus of intervention is that how I can actually persuade this community. I give an example that most of the women who are in perimenopausal age of 40s and all are very susceptible to cervix cancer. So can we not plan as a pharmacist to have a sort of a collective responsibility and take all the women and persuade them to get themselves checked, go in for pap smears and other things? So that's a role where important role which a pharmacist can play. And of course, not to say much, but personal counseling is then handling one-to-one, face-to-face. And here we work on a negotiated level. What does it mean? That I have to actually negotiate with the patient to an extent that he accepts my counseling and he takes care of his health. This becomes very relevant when we are working with patients who are suffering from chronic diseases like diabetes. Then in these times when we talk of the role of a pharmacist, we cannot ignore the sort of very testing times which we are going through and the role which we have played. I think Dr. Roshan, when he started talking about it, he was very generous in sort of saluting this force, which is the pharmacists force, who are working shoulder to shoulder and in the front as a front runners in taking care of this patients who are hit in this pandemic times. There are multiple roles which a pharmacist had been playing and he or she is playing. Then you have, particularly with the chronic disease patients, then we are supporting the rational medicine use. People are anxious, they are having depression, so we guide them accordingly. We are probably going in for triaging at the community level. If I find somebody in my neighbor who is suffering from these symptoms, so I can help him go in for a triage to a hospital so that he gets a better care. Then I make sure that the people in my community who are like elderly patients who are on diabetic medicines or hypertensive medicines, they primarily are given their share of medicines without having any anxiety component seeping in. So that's exactly what we are doing as the pharmacist. I would move to I had actually twisted my presentation, the one that I would first talk of the role of a pharmacist and then we would move into the research, although the topic had the research first and the role of pharmacist later. Now the question comes that now I think it's acceptable fact, my not sitting face to face with you, my giving a talk on a platform which is a digital platform tells us that how much technology has impacted us. So this profession of ours has to be being impacted, and therefore I have to take cognizance and I have to actually accept that what are the things which are available to me and how well I can actually accommodate them into my profession of being a pharmacist. I have the power of the internet. I think nobody denies that. Like it is becoming a lifeline. If you do not have a connection of the internet where you can just reach out to a platform to get some information or place an order for a pharmacy thing, I need an internet. So that is what is amazingly helping me out in these trying times. Even for consultation, I'm going in for video consultations. I am now very well aware of the concept of electronic prescribing and discharge. This is now mandatory. The doctors have to create electronic prescriptions and discharge summary, which is to be, I have to be now adept at reading these prescriptions and actually feeding the data into the computers and doing the best possible for my patient. Barcode medicine identification has come in a big way and primarily helping us to know whether the drug belongs to which batch and how I can go further, whether it is okay or not okay, and so on and so forth. Automated dispensing, primarily, I think my next speaker, Mr. Riaz, would be talking about it. So we have a huge sort of ingress of the automated dispensing, where the patient simply would be giving the prescription and automatically you will be getting that medicine which is required. Of course, there will be certain requirements and sort of functions which are to be assigned with and aligned with, and then this can work very well. Mobile technology is something which has actually revolutionary. It is sometimes destructive also, but primarily speaking, having all the apps and helping me, for example, you have this Arogya Setu. On the same lines, we are having so many mobile apps like Practo for the doctors, and there are certain by the name of 98.7 and others. I don't want to take the names of all these proprietary things, but the point is that my mobile is now working closely with my doctor, with my other treating caregivers, and finally, as a pharmacist, as a patient, I am knowing everything about the patient. I'm just a call away, and all these applications are help me to actually capture the data about my activity of my patient. Then, of course, this can help me in monitoring of the adherence to the medication, which is the most important thing if I want to get proper therapeutic outcomes. So that's amazingly helpful to pay for me as a pharmacist to keep track of patients who are not listening to me or the doctor. So I can track a patient with Parkinsonism and diabetes and all, whether he or she is taking the medicine. And of course, as I just explained, that telecare is absolutely revolutionary in these days. Technologies which are shaping, I'll spend a little time on this, and please I'll have to be a little fleetingly going through because of the paucity of the time and my next speaker waiting in. So when we have the technologies which are there, we have the artificial intelligence and machine learning. People now call it as Malai. So MLAI, Malai. That is machine learning. So artificial intelligence is something which is seeping into every aspect of drug discovery to your making of the product. So I can use it for dispensing, I can use it for high throughput screening of my drugs, I can actually sort of implement it wherever I require. Then I have this augmented reality. This is something which I would like you to know about it. So if a patient needs to be knowing that what will be the progression of my disease, earlier the doctor or the pharmacist would just sit across and try to counsel him emotionally. But now by this thing, he can be actually told that what will be the progression of your disease, how come the drugs will be working, what will be the target for the drugs, and he is actually knowing, and his anxiety component comes down. So that's the beauty of the technology which I am using it, and I'm able to do it beautifully so that I can reduce the tension and anxiety in my patient. Then digitization of medicine through healthcare mobile apps. I have just reflected on this a little while ago. Then something organs on chips. This is something which is going to be revolutionary for the research level. So we are going to replace the animal models with something which are called as organs on chip. Everything what will happen to my drug will be replicated on this whole organ, and I can understand that how the sort of enzymes in the liver will work and what will be the outcome of my medicine. Internet of Things or Internet of Things or Internet of Things integration is another concept where I can actually have a multi-device hardwares coming together, and each can be engaged with a particular role of like quality assurance or like dispensing or supply chain, and that can be controlled from a particular room, and I actually know the real time that if I want to have information on the stability of my formulations, I am getting that. Similarly, something which is like in the news is blockchain. Blockchain is a computer or a sort of a complete information technology tool which is actually auditable. It actually helps me to understand, and is very commonly used in the supply chain drugs or the retail pharmacy. So if at all I'm worried about that, whether it is going to the right person or whether my money which I'm paying is going to be to the right payment gate. So this is the technology which is becoming revolutionary in helping to take help of the pharmacy and the telemedicine per se. 3D printing is again a tool where I actually can customize and tailor make the formulation for my patients. So one of the drugs which was approved by FDA was by the name Spritem, which is an anti-epileptic drug, and it was launched by Aprecia Pharmaceuticals. So it primarily helps me to make a formulation as per the requirement of the patient. This is something which Dr. Fayazuddin has touched in the welcome address, that we need roti kapda makan. So the third thing which is important as per the sustainable goals of the UNDP is the good health and well-being. So you can understand how big the role of a doctor or a pharmacist are. I actually say whenever we talk of medicines and being like sort of compassionate, being like working for a patient counseling, patient-centric thing, I say it just boils down to being humdard. If you are humdard, you are actually a pharmacist. A pharmacist is actually something synonymous to what is being humdard all about. So taking from the cue from the sustainable goals of good health and well-being, this cannot be done without research. So we have to have an important role as academicians and researchers. This is a slide which is very close to my heart, which actually is something which Dr. Roshan was telling in the beginning, that how much of money is involved, how much of time when he was talking of vaccines and all. So you can just see that every facet will require a pharmaceutical scientist, a chemistry person, a pharmacology person, a regulatory person, a person who is well versed in a sort of communication and launching a product, a marketing, sales, and whatnot. So I don't want to get into the details. This is something which stays with each one of us when we are from the profession, that how tough this drug discovery development is. Before we have those beautiful tablets in our hands, we have to go through this journey. The new research tool, just to cut down this 12 years to 4 to 5 years, is that of reverse pharmacology. That is exactly something which is a new research vista, which is a new research avenue, that we already know that this drug is working, a natural pharmaceutical or Ayurvedic preparation, and we take that data, go in for the safety studies, produce certain sort of data supporting, and then go into clinical trials and all. And we are actually cutting down the time from 8 to 10 years to 4 to 5 years. This is exactly what is the new research paradigm coming up. This is again a slide which tells us that the journey from the conventional system, we'll always need them, but we have to move towards the better systems like control release, the microsystems, and the nanomedicine. We have the limitations of conventional system, and as we progress, we overcome all these limitations. These are common things which we know, that we will increase the bioavailability, will increase the patient compliance, and so on and so forth. So the new fundamental research, I remember my days in lab when we were used to going for just trial and error, 1 experiment, 5 experiments, 200 experiments, and then coming out, this polymer is not good. This polymer did not make a film, or for that matter, the tablet was friable. So that used to come after a hard work of months and months together. But now, and it was a univariate approach, we had a causal link predict performance was primarily so we have to find the cause and then go back and then come back with a new solution. But now we have something which we call as quality by design. Again, a new foray into the research area. I know the intrinsic capacities or physicochemical properties of the drug. I know I can prepare a multivariate approach. I know the mechanism by which that drug or system, drug delivery will work. I have a statistical tool to prove that it is going to be really, really a sure shot. And I just can be very helpfully using statistics and other quality by design by selecting my sort of dependent and independent variables, and I'm bang on that particular thing where I can actually use the analytics and all to get a product which is absolutely formulation by design or quality by design. We have design of experts and many other softwares which are available, and this is what I call another watershed area for the research in pharmacy sector. So the trend in pharmaceutical research, some of them have picked up already, but we have something which we have really explored, and that is the field of nanotechnology married to the medicine and creating something which we call as nanomedicines. We are having a localized drug delivery. We now know that, for example, if I have to treat the infection in the vaginal cavity of a gender-specific vaginal cavity, I don't need a systemic antifungal like itraconazole with so many side effects. I can actually make a solid lipid nanoparticle gel. I can go in for making a gel of luliconazole. So I understand the concept of loco-regional delivery. Another thing which is like intriguing to me as a pharmaceutical scientist is the antibiotic discovery. I cannot ignore the fact of sort of the concept of the antibiotic resistance. So I am looking forward to certain designing, certain repurposing of the designs and systems so that I get a drug delivery system which is a biofilm disruptor, for example. I am now going in for knowing the RNA, that RNA, we all know what the role of DNA is, what the role of RNA is, but now we know that RNA and interference RNA, RNAi, and other small molecules can be actually harnessed as a target site for treatments of soul disease. So this becomes a research avenue. I'm using bioprinting, very similar to 3D printing, but this is related to the cell culture studies, where the ink, the first company was your cell ink company, which prepared a bio ink onto which the system or the cells could live, and we were able to see the real-time things. Then we can actually, a pharmacist plays an important role in phenotypic screening, and whenever a doctor does a robotic surgery, there's a pharmaceutical scientist who's assisting, be it a nanobots. The companies hire a pharmaceutical scientist who know the nuances of pharmacokinetic and pharmacodynamic, and then he also may be good in technology, or he's trained for that, or he's there to assist the doctor. Artificial intelligence is coming in a big way, as I just explained earlier. Artificial intelligence, you can just have an example. You type in the Google world and you just type the P, everything will come. World Pharmacist Day 2020 with this particular theme. So that is the level of how this, for example, a patient wants to know about a disease, so he will type certain keywords, or he might not be able to type certain keywords. So we can define a filter, we can have certain things in a software which can help him get to that terminology much clearer, so that the counseling can be much better, or he understands the disease much better, and many other areas like your drug discovery and high throughput screening. These are some of the, I would never go without telling you that Jamia Hamdard is one of the unique seats where the pharmacy is the flag bearer. The pharmacy faculty is a flag bearer. I, along with my so many colleagues, we are working in different areas, and we are particularly working primarily on cancer, on women health, and oral infections. And so a lot of publications come out, and I'll be very happy to handhold any one of you who would be interested in any of these areas. So we are pioneers in quite a good number of areas, me and our colleagues. Thank you. And actually thanking the university for giving us this opportunity, that we are able to independently take our research areas and work towards them. I have come to the end of my presentation, although I must have taken a little more time as was allocated to me. This is one sort of stanza from Robert Frost, which is actually always motivating me, and I'm sure that it will motivate all of you being a pharmacy professional, and how we can actually contribute to the areas which are still unexplored. The stanza says, "The woods are lovely, dark and deep. The woods are lovely, dark and deep, but I have promises to keep, and miles to go before I sleep, and miles to go before I sleep." So this is exactly what a pharmacist has to do. He has to really go forward and conquer the world, and there are many miles to go before I or you sleep. Thank you so much, and that's all from my end, and I must appreciate the patience which all of you have shown and listen to the presentation intently. I'll be very happy to take any questions, and maybe you will get back to me, and I'm really welcoming always whenever it comes to students and my colleagues. Thank you so much, Dr. Rajesh and Dr. Fayaz. Sorry if I just overshot the time. I'm extremely sorry.
No, it's okay, ma'am. We learned many things. We understood about the current situation as well as trends in the pharmaceutical industry. What are the things which will going to change the scenario in future, which is very important for students to understand who are going to be a future pharmacists. It is very important for them to understand. With that, we will move ahead with our next session. This next session is from Dr. Riyaz Siddiqui, sir. Mr. Riyaz Siddiqui is a pharmacy graduate from Jamia Hamdard, New Delhi, and later completed his MBA as a marketing professional. He is having diversified healthcare experience in sales management, territory business management, training, and staff development. In the past, he's worked with Indigene, GB HealthNet, Starcare Hospital in Muscat, and currently he is working in Australian multinational company Ego Pharmaceuticals in the Sultanate of Oman. Hello, sir, and his theme is on application of AI in pharmacy services. So we will. This is very important topic for all, that how artificial intelligence is changing right now the scenarios. So, sir will explain us on that. Sir, is up to you, sir.
Thank you, Dr. Rajesh, for your introduction. And I'm really thankful and honored to be the part of one of the panelists with the stalwarts, in fact, Dr. Asif and Dr. Roshan, Dr. Zeenath, who has taught me. And in fact, from the beginning, she used to be one of the role models, because she used to, not only a teacher, Rather, she was a mentor where she always inculcated kind of professionalism and developing as a personality. Because no matter how skillful we are, unless we present ourselves in a very good manner, we won't be, it won't matter much. That is how, we have been learning, and life is all about learning. So I'm really honored, and I would like to express my sincere gratitude to my colleague, Dr. Fayazuddin, Dr. Rajesh, and all the dignitaries, all the organizing committee members of Pharma Tutor for having me here today to share my whatever experience, a bit of experience. Although I consider myself as a novice, because those who are with me are very senior to me, and they are by and large, they are more experienced, of course. But I'll start because we have been in the session for 1.5 years almost. And according to a survey, a research, which says that after continuous listening of 20 minutes, no matter how eloquent the speaker is, people start getting bored. So it doesn't mean that the presenters, I'm undermining their ability, but it is just want to create a humorous start so that people should, refresh themselves. Because exposed to system for a long time, of course, my topic is AI also, but then it has some demerits as well. So there used to be one professor who used to be very fast in his class. Am I audible? I'm sorry, I didn't check.
Yes, sir.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Please continue.
He used to be very fast. Then one of the backbencher, they are very naughty students, those who sit at the back. They are termed as, like class bunkers, and they are naughty and then always create problems with the teacher and professor who is lecturing. So he said, "Stop your Rajdhani Express." The teacher overlooked and then went ahead. A second time he, shouted, "Stop your Rajdhani Express." When he said for the third time, the professor turned back and said, "Rajdhani Express does not stop at third class station for third class passengers." So let us start with this. I'll share my screen. There is a presentation to be shared.
Yes, sir. Make it in a slideshow mode. Make it in a slideshow mode.
Okay.
PPT is not shared. Just your screen is shared right now, sir.
Yes. Is it visible now?
No, still PPT is not shared, sir.
Okay, one moment. Is it visible now?
Yes.
Is it?
Yes.
So we'll start with this. Yeah, application of artificial intelligence. Although it's a very broad topic and it needs a lot of things, but I'll have summarized in a very short span of time. I'll just go through and many other things Dr. Zenith has already told about as a pharmacist, how this is particular thing has been incorporated in pharmaceutical field. So the agenda of today's topic, discussion will be the paradigm shift, why AI and ML is very important, an application of AI and machine learning in pharmaceutical firm, what are the industry trends and startups in India as of now, and what skills do we need to tap those opportunities. So first of all, the definition, what does this AI is all about? As we all know that machine thinking like humans is nothing but making machine think like humans, and they can perform jobs which are human with a greater efficacy and accuracy, because we as a human are to err is human, that is what is said, and we are tend to susceptible to get tired and cannot handle a big data so as machine do. So machine thinking like humans to perform tasks such as listening, learning, problem solving, planning, reasoning, and identifying the patterns. That is what AI says. So what makes AI so important and much talk about subject in today's world? According to the survey conducted by Cognizant, it says that 80% of the clinical trial fail because they do not meet enrollment timeline needs. And as a result of that, in phase 3, they are terminated. And recently, COVID vaccine also, there are some of the vaccines in the hunt of preparing and coming out with a vaccine. They fail to do so. Second important research which says that around 86% of clinical trials fail to recruit sufficient number of patients to have a clear-cut data which can be told that it is now safe to be used on larger pool of patients and come into the post-marketing surveillance. And to highlight another important avenues, as Professor Asif was saying, that in UK itself, it is 95.5 million, avoidable medication errors that cost to NHS, National Hospital Trust, and that accounts for 1,700 lives. So as we have reported that with the advent of AI and ML, the drugs company is gonna save $1.2 billion if we club that this particular error or this particular money is being wasted. So that is we can imagine the importance and the opportunities which are going to come. So if we add 10 pharma companies, around 70 billions annually can be saved by using machine learning and big data and artificial intelligence. And this slide shows that AI has transformed the whole industry. Almost no industry in this is spared. So we will be discussing only mostly about pharmaceutical and healthcare. So just for the glimpse, I wanted to share this slide. Second is, these are the applications. Main AI application: research and delivery, clinical development, manufacturing, supply chain, launching commercial, post-marketing surveillance and patient support, be it aggressive synthesis information, and then mining of data, and then understanding a disease modality, how it affects, and drug candidate for generation and selection. And then clinical trial, as we discussed before, that how does it fail, site selection, recruitment and optimization, process optimization, so on and so forth. Be it supply chain, be it commercial, be it post-marketing surveillance, wherein patient support and programs are needed, compliance monitoring. A substantial amount of money is wasted in drug non-adherence, especially when it comes to chronic medications. Because pharma companies, basically, they focus on chronic medications, be it anti-diabetic medicine or be it anti-cancer medicine. They focus on that because patient stays for a longer period of time, and then eventually they make good amount of money. That is also one of the purpose. So patient compliance costs them a lot. So AI, with the applications and AI tool can monitor the patient whether it's taking on time, taking the right pill on time. So that will also save a lot of money. So AI recently it has played a tremendous role in tackling this pandemic. So Blue Dot AI-driven algorithm was successfully used to detect Zika virus in Florida, and also it was the Blue Dot, with the help of that, 9 days before emergence of this COVID-19 was declared, before WHO finally stepped in, and after 9 days of that, WHO declared as a pandemic. So imagine 9 days, even 9 hours or more than that to count millions and millions of cases. But 9 days is a game changer, can infect the whole entire country. Similarly, researchers at the Hong University of Science and Technology, they have diagnostic tools such as XBOS machine, learning shapes prognostic model that can quickly analyze COVID patients and infected with 90% accuracy. Another very important classical example we can cite from China, where it started, in fact, unfortunately, and then they had COVID-19, this kind of mechanism to analyze patient with the help of chest CT scan, and then they can plan ahead how to relieve pressures from frontline radiologists to improve diagnosis, because everything is kept on radiologists, and the doctors, they will be like losing their lives. So there has to be some machine integration wherein they can minimize the burden and then relieve doctors and healthcare professionals. Again, COVIDNet, a deep learning model, was designed to detect COVID-19 positive cases with chest X-rays and accelerate treatment for those who need it the most. So, these have abused to a great extent in this particular pandemic. Google DeepMind is helping scientists to study various features of SARS severe acute respiratory syndrome, and severe, and also in this particular pandemic. Several AI-based computer vision camera is used to monitor those who are moving around patients, those who are in lockdown as well, that how their movement is affecting the larger population, the other parts of the area where it is under quarantine. A flu sense is something which is, detects the outbreak of flu in certain population. And use of robots, when the patients are quarantined, then at that time we need to be engaged with the patients. How to hold them in a particular place, that is something very, very tough task. With the help of this Cloud Ginger Eka XR1 in Wuhan, China, they used to deliver food to the patients, and also entertain them during their quarantine period. As in the picture, we can see that child is maybe watching something, game or some interactive things. Application of AI by pharmaceutical firm. Bayer and Merck companies have algorithm for pulmonary hypertension. Bayer and Merck also have granted breakthrough device designation, FDA, which is using for clinical decision making for chronic thromboembolic pulmonary hypertension. Cyclia and Bayer recently are using AI to determine pharmacological profiles faster and develop more affordable drugs. Cyclica, a biotechnology firm which has combined with biophysics and AI to discover drug faster, safer, and cheaper. These have been, partnered with Bayer to create AI augmented integrated network of cloud-based technologies, which is known as Ligand Express. Similarly, other companies, Tencent Holding is a UK-based Medopad, remotely monitor Parkinson's patient. I remember, once I was there in European Hospital Pharmacists Congress in 2017. I noticed that, the professor was discussing that with the help of machines, now you can monitor your child who is having fits at home. You are at work, you will get the alert. Your child is having fits. Please attend to him. You will call the doctor and call somebody at home who can attend to the patient. So with the help of that, life has dramatically changed. AI cure and AbbVie use of image recognition to impose drug adherence. A research team led by University of Singapore National University, which is using to control the patients and determine cancer in the patient, which is halting the disease progression ahead, maybe the first stage, maybe second stage, or before it reaches out of our hand. Apple uses AI screen for children in autism. IBM and Watson has partnered for oncology treatment. Similarly, in recent India, as you know, it's like bigger ecosystem which has greater talent pool. Niramai Health company is developing a novel software to detect breast cancer in a very early stage. Then it is much faster and accurate as compared to traditional methods. Similarly, top startups in China, recently I got this information from the web that 23 million US dollar, Wamo, a deep learning software company, which has partnered and in fact has come up with lots of different solutions for the companies. Similarly, another Cure is something which is related to healthcare, is helping physicians with routine diagnosis and treatment, allowing them to spend more time with the patients to help better understand patient needs and patient disease. Once understanding of the diagnosis is done, then treatment is even available on the net. So diagnosis is the main important area or the focal point where right treatment can be given to the patients. Similarly, I worked for a company called Indigene in India, which was itself a startup company from Mr. Raghavan from Infosys. It was hardly 100 crore company in 2006, but now it is $215 million company in 2020. With the integration of technology, they used to provide all sort of pharma services to all the pharmaceutical companies. Similarly, another company, Strand Life Science, is using genome profiling. And this is the industry trend. The industry is growing by leaps and bounds. You can see that there is a very good cumulative average growth rate of 21.2%, which can reach up 2 billion by 2022. Only this is the profit from AI, revenue generated by AI-based solutions in pharmaceutical industry, which can reach to $2 billion. The another figure which shows that in 2025 is going to reach 16 billion US dollars. And this is the world market, how it is growing. It shows that by 2024, $1,434 billion will be. And this is the part of rest of the US and this rest of the world. North America, Europe, Asia, and rest of the world. Shows there's huge potential. What now we should be focusing, because I wanted to make this presentation more suited for students who can up skills themselves, who can be ready for this, take up this challenge. So what technical skills are needed for this particular profession and job? Programming language, of course, Java, Python. There are various courses available on Google. They are teaching free. They are even certifying you free. C++, R, linear algebra, calculus. I wanted to share one more thing. My professor, one of Dr. Mushir Ali, who used to be in pharmaceutics, and once I traveled with him from Delhi to Aligarh while going to Aligarh. So it was, we see how short-sighted we are when we are students. I just wanted to highlight this. He used to say, often says, why don't you go for some these courses of computer courses? Being short-sighted at that time, you said, why are you suggesting computer? Because we are doing pharmacy, it's enough. So we'll do masters, we'll do PhD, that's all, no need. So he used to tell us, why don't you go for this particular course? Why don't you show interest? Because this will be a need in coming time. The computer courses, now we can see that without that, we are even, and this pandemic has even made this the importance to realize by a wider generation of people. So that is what, we can see that how important it was. That's now we have opened up our horizons, since we are working and we are coming across with different sort of things. So now we can realize that how important he was. Used to say that time we would have done that time. But anyway, it's never a wrong time to do a right thing. So let us start and have some kind of skills ready to take up these challenges. Similarly, signal processing techniques, algorithms like wavelets, shearlets, and so many things are there in the market to be learned. Skills needed, applied maths and algorithms, neural network, which Dr. Zinat was talking about, how they can sense language, neural programming language. So how they can sense the language, computer can sense the language, and then they can deduce the formula and best solution for you with the help of AI and machine learning. Another some important areas, communication skill. Of course, when we are working with AI and integrated, there are data scientists, there is a system AI engineer, there are some research scientists for pharmaceutical. So we have to convey the right message, clear and concise way. So that there comes the role of communication. Domain knowledge, knowing about the subject matter expertise is, of course, cannot be denied. It's very important. Additional skills, using linguistic programming language, using different software which are coming in the market as and when we go. This is very volatile field, especially computers. Every time a new language comes, a new thing has come, so we have to upskill, we have to upgrade ourselves. Reinforced learning, of course, is another avenues which young generation people can focus and go on. This is the last thing which I wanted to thank on this particular Pharmacist Day. Thank you for patient listening, and thank you for your time. Now the floor is ready for questions. You are mute. You are mute now. So Rajesh, you are mute.
Okay. Ma'am, Zinat ma'am.
Am I audible?
Thank you, yes, sir, for guiding us about artificial intelligence, giving us a precious information about AI, that how it is changing right now and how pharmaceutical companies are working in the field of artificial intelligence. Almost all the pharmaceutical companies are in the field of AI. And thank you for explaining about this thing. Now we'll go for the panel discussion as faster, because already we took much time. And we'll also take questions from audience. Okay, with that, a few are there questions from our side. So I will ask the first questions to Dr. Roshan sir.
Okay.
Sir, yeah. Why entrepreneurship, especially for pharma students, is important for any country, just like our country, India, for economical growth?
Right. I think, what is important as an individual as well as a professional, the kind of ambition or passion that they carry. And especially when it comes to pharmacists as a profession, they carry the larger responsibility rather than just doing a job. They actually meant to serve the population, to serve the entire citizens of India in terms of safeguarding their health, and thereby it's a great responsibility on their shoulder uh, to bring something, the better line of treatment, better health services to the patient. And when it comes to the entrepreneurship mindset altogether, I think being a pharmacist, they can do miracles to the fraternity, to the industry, to the segment altogether, in terms of bringing some novel formulations, having some great ideas, working on either in the line of treatment, bringing some novelties within the products, maybe in terms of the kind of ideas they have, and possibly what is important that whatever may be the idea, if you see there is a great potential, your idea can solve the major problem, whether it could be a very common scenario, but your solution, your idea could going to resolve the major problem of the country, then that potential idea has a greater importance, not only from the scientific way, but also from the commercial perspective. And therefore, there will be many forums, many bodies, many investors would be open enough to invest into those ideas, and bringing those ideas from lab to the commercial market. That is what their true potential will going to come up. That is one side of it. On the other side, what is important, uh, since as a pharmacist, what mostly has been observed that they are actually coming into the community pharmacy, or the establishing as a registered pharmacist, and thereby giving the products to the patients. But that means they are already into the entrepreneurship suit. They are wearing those kind of hats, and they see this particular service is much more scalable, and therefore they could come up with the many ideas in terms of expansion, scale up, and what do you call the increasing their potential in the respective market. So entrepreneurship is something where they have, during the course of their time, either pursuing D-Farm, B-Farm, or M-Farm, they might have experienced those kind of skill set, and now it's the time to make it those encashable by bringing those idea into the forum, into the platform, and nurturing those idea in much more into the commercial scale, and thereby making their presence pretty strong. So it's certainly that they have the greater future. Entrepreneurship is something they can do it and must come up, because this will not only make them stable in their career, but at the same time, this kind of entrepreneurship projects or the ideas are going to be a not nation building cause in terms of building and growing the economy of the country. So therefore, lot many entrepreneurs should join the kind of missions, should join such kind of projects, and thereby contributing greatly in the society. Yeah.
Thank you very much, sir, for enlightening us. Now the question is for Dr. Riyaz, sir, that how young pharmacy professional can involve in AI-based startups? How they can involve? So many students are attending this session, so we want to hear about them also.
Thank you very much. It's one of the very important questions. That is what I wanted to tailor my presentation to young professionals, those who are budding, pharmacists and coming into the field. So first of all, we need to upgrade, be prepared ourselves, because time has changed. Gone are the days when you used to be simple. You can be a graduate with somehow you graduate from the college by having exam and appearing in supplementary examination, but then you get a degree because there are job seekers less. Now there's a stage of cutthroat competition. You need to stand out of the crowd. You should be something different from the crowd. Only then people will pick you. What value will you give it to the company? So first of all, assess yourself, self talk to yourself every day, that am I meeting the criteria of the market? Am I meeting the needs of the market? Like how things have changed from the time 10 years back, how I'm advanced in my computers, because nowadays there are free courses. I did certain courses at this level at this age as well. Google is giving you digital certification courses. There are exam online. They can fetch you a digital certificate which you can highlight on your LinkedIn platform. Also, University of Finland is offering free courses for AI. So choose courses, upskill yourself, and then see world is waiting for you. Because this is, there is a plethora of opportunities. Only thing is that, and I will always say to my students, fellow colleagues, and fellow juniors, that it is the attitude, not the aptitude, which is going to determine your altitude. So have a positive attitude, have that bent of mind. World is in your hands. And India,
Thank you.
is
Thank you
an
very much.
ocean of opportunities, ocean of opportunities.
Our next question is for Dr. Zinat ma'am. How enhancing role of pharmacists is actually changing industrial environment. Now, how the industrial environment is changing because of enhancing of role of pharmacists. Pharmacists are now the value of pharmacists is increased because of FDA and WHO and these kind of all inspections. So, how it is changing the environment?
Okay. I think, Dr. Rajesh, I'll take a couple of questions from the comment box as well, because there are two things which
Yes,
I would like want to bring, so that I can couple these things and I'll respond at one go. So the first question was, rather it was a comment. It says कि हमें इन सब जो आर्टिफिशियल इंटेलिजेंस है वो फार्मासिस्ट के रोल को कमतर करेगी, तो हमें इसका विरोध करना चाहिए. So सबसे important चीज, this is one comment. The second thing is that Mr. Majid Ahmed, if I have noted correctly, he has very, with all humility, asked that what can be the changes in the curriculum, and it is actually the change in the environment or the learning environment. So the response to the first apprehension, जो आपके अंदर ये दुविधा है, उसको आपको दूर करना पड़ेगा, क्योंकि जो आजकल पेंडेमिक का माहौल है, ये आपने 1 साल पहले भी नहीं सोचा था, 6 महीने पहले भी नहीं सोचा था कि हम लोग इस तरह के प्लेटफॉर्म पे मिलेंगे. अदरवाइज कॉन्फ्रेंस का मतलब है हॉल में आना, अच्छा खाना खाना, चाय पीना. इस वक्त टी ब्रेक का टाइम होता अगर नॉर्मल कॉन्फ्रेंस होती तो. The point which is important here is that there is no choice. We do not have choice. We have to upskill, as Riaz has said, that more than your aptitude, it is your attitude, then only you will reach an altitude. Otherwise, it is not going to help any one of us. The role of pharmacist is really now in a golden mantle. The regulations which are been changing, the ingress of the devices rule into 2019, and then looking forward to hybrid and drug and devices things. Everything, the whole domain and the dimension of these regulations have changed. And regulation is such a dynamic thing. Every day they will be asking for new freshers as well as experienced people, because they will have different sort of engagements which are available. It's an ocean which is available there. Artificial intelligence, I will, Dr. Mushir has been my teacher as well. Riaz brought him in, I now humbly remember. He was like one of the smartest of the persons around. And at that point also, he was like always saying, pharmacy में कुछ नहीं रखा, इसके साथ computer सीखो. And we were like, okay, ये क्या कह रहे हो आप? Now it is like actually what he was much more a visionary. He was much more a visionary than us. He knew it much ahead of us time. It is a right time. And again, one of my seniors, I have to bring him here, and I will give this credit to him because it is he who inculcated this in me, Dr. Shabir Rangwala. He told me that I will not hire your students, Zenat. I am into placement as well. I will not hire. I will not take a pizza base. I want a topping. So he was referring to something that you have a B Pharm degree and you top it with some courses. These are the brilliant times we are living in. We have Coursera offering daily courses. There are so many universities which are offering daily courses. Please just come out of that mind shackle or mental of that we are pharmacists, we cannot do it. That is something which pains me. We are the pharmacists and we are the change agents. The only thing which is required is that we have to be actually knowing our own worth ourselves. Then just see two young people here. When you will see Dr. Roshan's degree line, I think it will make me breathless if I read all the degrees. And Riaz there, a B Pharm, MBA, and I don't know how many certifications. So nothing stops you, and there is a brilliant future awaiting you. Only thing is that lock and key are to be matched. You are available, the key is there. Maybe you become the key to the lock of the industry, and they are going to be there. The environment is the most conducive. All the fields, just skill up, just upskill. And no less than your Prime Minister tells you skill India. So we have to align with that. Digital India, skill India, they have all become the reality. Thank you so much. I think I have been able to gratify the query. If not, I'll be very happy to take them on my personal inbox anytime soon. I'm always there to support and help. And the role of a teacher is now finished. We are having everything on the internet. The teacher will only be a guru, cool, nothing else. You have to be cool guru and then keep on mentoring them. That's it from my side. Thank you so much for giving me this opportunity. Over to you. Over to you.
Thank you, Dr. Zeenat. Thank you so much.
Rajesh, I just wanted to add a couple of points to what Dr. Zeenat has mentioned, as well as the Riaz has touched upon. What is since we come from the industry, I can justify the kind of concerns students might be having it, and I can put forward the right things in their basket, so that they can work on those lines and can make themselves much more capable and available to the industry to serve further. Now, there are two aspects that every single this question is specific. The point is specific to the student. Those who are verge to complete the course and get into the industry. In that perspective. So there are two aspects that every single individual has to look into it. Number one is that the skill set. Now, you have to realize one thing, what kind of curriculum that you are going through, either it's a D Farm, B Farm, M Farm, PhD, and so on. What kind of curriculum it is that? Is it something relevant to the industry or not? Where the industry is growing today, okay? Are we ourselves making ourselves, scalable, available to the industry? Because the demand have been changed completely. The industry really don't need a mere pharmacist, they need a skilled pharmacist. Okay. And as rightly been identified and mentioned by the Riaz also, that there are a lot of many skills that we need to inculcate ourselves, because it's a crowded market. Okay, there are plenty of opportunity at the same time, but let me tell you, the opportunity is not for everyone who are just simply idly sitting at place and waiting for the opportunity to knock their door. Okay, it's not going to happen in that way. You have to make yourself much more visible, much more scalable, much more skillful, so that you are actually a diamond in the entire crowd. Now, how that can be done? So, especially in addition to whatever the course that you are doing it, you need to upgrade yourself, maybe with the artificial intelligence, maybe the machine learning, maybe with the business intelligence, maybe with the additional courses with respect to let's say formulation development, regulatory affair courses, quality assurance courses, quality control courses, clinical affair, pharmacovigilance, and so many things that are available, right? So what happens when there is a demand? Industry looks for the right talent, and mark my words, industry looks for the talent, not mere for the qualification, because qualification would be having with everyone, okay? But what the talent that is required, and talent is nothing to do with your intellectuals, okay? I mean, the intellectual support that is required, the qualification is one side, your intellectual is on the other side, your attitude towards the kind of profession, towards the kind of job that you're going to be part of, that will going to define your career further, your success further. So acquire the qualities, acquire the skill which is actually required in today's highly competitive world. Okay, now let me bring to the other perspective from the industry, where how the pharmacists can actually enhance the changing norms or the changing industrial environment. Let me tell you, pharmacies has the utmost importance in the sector, in the industry. Okay, there are many avenues open up. It's just that possibly most of you are just knowing that, okay, after completing my B Farm, M Farm, or even the D Farm, only I can go into the production, only I can go into the R&D, or only I can go into the what do you call the marketing. This is what majorly comes to your mind, But let me tell you, there are more than 40-50 departments, functions working together in the industry, and that becomes the very cross-functional team to bring any product from research to the commercial market. And in the entire chain of this process, their pharmacist has to play a role, whether it's R&D, whether it's a formulation development, or whether it's analytical research and development, whether it's a pre-formulation, lab scale development, whether it's a pilot batches, or whether it's a commercial batches, or whether it's a process development, things pharmacists must required in that area. Similarly, in the analytical research also, whether you do the method development, whether you do process validation, whether you do technology transfer, scientists are required, okay, pharmacists are required for that. Apart from that, when it comes to the production, within the manufacturing segment, there are many areas. You can go into the what you call the production, quality control, quality assurance, manufacturing, supply chain, Then it comes to more technical side, let's say regulatory affairs, clinical affair, medical affairs, pharmacovigilance, DMPK, okay? And there's so many other avenues open for you. So you have to gear it up because it's ultimately your career. You have to stand still and strong by acquiring the kind of skills that is required, because industry is going to open all the doors for you. It's your force, your willingness, how much opportunity that you can grab. So it is something, and let me tell you, this kind of pandemic is actually a kind of game changer, the entire process of the industry across the nation, across the world, because we were never used to work the way we are working right now. And this is a complete transformation. And what the theme that we have, the global transformation, I think COVID-19 has played a critical role, a major role in transformation of our entire our operations, entire our administration, entire our services, entire our education digitally now because of this kind of platform. And let's say nobody has invented this technology, how come we are going to interact today? So you have to think much louder, clear,
Right.
and in a long-term basis, right? So the message is that there is a great future for all of you, for everyone. But only thing with the caution is that you have to upgrade yourself. You have to acquire those knowledge, acquire those skills, because that is going to change the phenomena. Now let me tell you, apart from the what pharmaceutical industry is there, in the IT sector itself, if I talk about, IT has created a standalone healthcare vertical who are dedicatedly working for the pharmaceutical companies. And for
Absolutely.
there, the pharmacists are also required there. So there's
Absolutely.
what you call the pharmacovigilance, the clinical operations, okay, the surveillance, So
Clinical
these are
data
the
management.
things. The clinical data management also. And I think, if you acquire this AI, machine learning, and the business intelligence, I think you are going to stand much more strongly in the entire crowd, because you have the scientific knowledge, being a pharmacist, and now you acquire the IT knowledge at the same time. You are going to rule in that particular segment, okay? So the point is that opportunities are there. It's just that we need to make ourselves visible, available to those opportunities. And let me tell you that the guys like you, the youngsters like you, the sky is not the limit at all. You just need
Right.
to visualize yourself. Your future is absolutely bright. Identify your passion. Start working on those lines. Build your career plan. You should know right away where you're going to land after 5 years, 10 years, 20 years, where you're going to be, at that particular position. If you have that kind of clarity, your career path is very clear. And the mentors like Dr. Zenat, and everyone, Rayaz and Dr. Fayaz, and so many faculties, wherever you are working, actually, wherever you are pursuing the courses, those faculty become your mentor. And I'm sure none of the faculty never will say no if you go with the right kind of questions. So you should have the questions in your mind with genuine things. And the whole universe will be coming towards you to help you and take you to the right position. So that's what I could wanted to highlight, especially because I can see that a lot of anxiety is there in the youth right now. But that anxiety has to be channelized as the right energy, and the energy into your passion, your career, your future plan. And I think being a pharmacist, you actually carry much larger responsibility than an individual, because you are serving the society. The moment you serve the society, you contribute to the nation directly in that way. Yeah.
Right,
Sorry,
right,
I
Dr.
took on
हाँ,
that,
right,
but
Dr.
I felt this is
Very well
something
said.
important to highlight.
ये आपदा
I
को
think
अवसर करने का टाइम है। इस आपदा को
Yeah.
अवसर जी
Bilkul, right, very true.
there is an opportunity in every calamity,
Yeah, good
so
proper
we need
knowledge
to
about
understand
what
that.
Dr. Roshan
And
told.
I would like
It
to,
is actually answered by them.
yeah,
Yeah,
I would
yeah.
like to
Thank you.
one of the comment. How AI is introduced at international airports, rail stations, and ports to identify carriers, potential carriers, and prevent pandemic. Yes, this is a very pertinent question, and this has been implemented, especially in Wuhan. As we said that there are robots which are engaging, those who are under quarantine. They're not making us move out of the, their quarantine site, because they are having some displaying games. Kids are being engaged. Also at the airport, there are screens which can be planted, and then there are manless, airports which are operating only with machines. Go and scan your passport, put your luggage on the conveyor belt. It will take you there. go without any person. There's no one. Only machines will never get COVID. Only humans are infected with COVID. That is how it is helping. There are air curtains used to be before the malls. Now there are robots. They are spraying you in kind of antiseptics and spray sanitizers. So, and there are robots which are dispensing things and checking your thermometer temperature. So all that features are used, but provided people should be cooperative. We should be, responsible. We consider ourselves as a responsible citizen, not just it is the of Prime Minister of India who is making an announcement that every citizen should be responsible. It is a collective responsibility. I have to feel that if I'm infected, I'm infecting others, and in fact, I'm infecting the country. So I should be taking responsibility. I should be taking the ownership. Only then things can be solved, and we can get a better positive outcome.
Right.
Dr. Rajesh,
That's true.
10 seconds if you allow me. I just want to add one thing which from a comment, I just want to respond to that very
Yes,
quickly.
for sure, ma'am.
Okay. Just taking forward what Majid Ahmed has put up, how do we do, and I am sure that there must be some teachers as well who have joined us. There's a concept of pharmacy practice school now in semester 7, and we have a project in semester 8. I really urge you that during that practice school, take that very seriously and maybe introduce your students to something like artificial intelligence, machine learning, or something, just maybe the snippets and the theoretical part of it, so that they are ready when they are done with their B Farm. So that will be a very interesting module to follow, maybe something like on antimicrobial resistance, something which is actually harming us, something like infection communication, or maybe contraction of disease. So these can, because Pharmacy Council of India is not stopping us. You design your module and you take it forward. So that's it from me. Maybe the teachers and the students can take this advantage of having this opportunity of using a pharmacy practice school and actually make it a pharmacy practice rather than having any of the other types of projects which are just pure assignments. Thank you so much. That's all. I think I thought I'll respond to this comment in the box. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much, ma'am. Thank you. So with this, I think we are just concluding our session because we took more than 2 hours. So maybe our audience are thinking that okay, this is enough for the day. They took enough knowledge about pharmacy today, right? So
We are
with
all
this,
passionate.
yeah, for sure. And with this, I just want to thanks Dr. Zinat ma'am, Dr. Ria sir, Dr. Roshan sir, Dr. Asik sir, and definitely Dr. Fayazuddin sir to make this session successful, and definitely our audience who make it successful, who are just जो शांति से बैठे रहे और सुनते रहे. Thank you everyone. Thank you very much, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe this session. Thank you everyone. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you.
Allah Hafiz,
Thank you all.
Allah Hafiz.
Thank you so
Take
much.
care.
Thank you.
Have a good
Take
weekend
care
ahead.
of
Take
Have a
care.
great
Allah
day.